Hey, and welcome. Today, we're diving into something that affects all of us. Those invisible forces that kind of hold us back, The mental fences that keep us from reaching our true potential. So let's figure out how we can break free.
I know it sounds like a strange question, right? An invisible fence? But seriously, think about it for a second. Have you ever had that feeling where you know you could do something, but you just can't? Like something invisible is stopping you and you have no idea what it is.
This idea is captured perfectly in this old story. Imagine a baby elephant tied to a post with a simple rope. It's not strong enough to break free, so it learns that the rope is its limit. But what happens when that elephant grows up? It's massive, incredibly powerful, but it never even tries to break the rope. Why? Because that old belief, formed when it was small and weak, is still running the show. It believes escape is impossible. And that, right there, is the perfect picture of a limiting belief. So those fences, those ropes from our past, that's exactly what we're talking about when we say limiting beliefs. They work just like that elephant's rope. They keep us tethered, not by any real physical barrier, but by the sheer power of our own minds. Okay, so what is a limiting belief officially? Well, it's basically a false belief that stops us from going after what we really want. And here's the kicker. They are totally self-imposed. They only exist in our minds. They feel incredibly real, for sure, but they're just stories we tell ourselves about what we can and can't do. And that's exactly what makes them so sneaky. Most of the time, they're running in the background completely unconsciously. They're like the quiet operating system of your mind, shaping your reality, your decisions, your emotions, all without you even realizing it's happening.
All right, so if we're going to break free, we first have to actually see the fence, right? So in this next part, we're going to look at some of the most common ways these beliefs show up. And hey, you might just recognize a few of them in your own thinking.
A great place to start is with this idea of a mindset, which comes from the work of researcher Carol Dweck. She basically found there are two ways to look at our abilities. A fixed mindset is the belief that our talents are just set in stone. We are what we are. But a growth mindset sees things totally differently. It sees every challenge as a chance to learn and get better.
And you can really hear this difference in our inner voice, can't you? A fixed mindset says, failure is the limit of my abilities. And if someone gives you feedback, it feels like a personal attack. A growth mindset, on the other hand, completely reframes that. Failure is an opportunity to grow. Feedback isn't personal, it's constructive. It's literally the difference between seeing a brick wall and seeing a doorway.
And beyond just the general mindset, these beliefs pop up as really specific negative thinking patterns, like catastrophizing. That's when one tiny mistake feels like the end of the world. Or personalizing, where everything that goes wrong is somehow your fault. Oh, and the should statements. That's that nagging inner critic telling you all the things you should be doing. It's like a one-way ticket to guilt city. So you might be wondering, where does all this stuff even come from? It's really important to understand their origins, not to point fingers or place blame, but to build a little self-compassion. Because here's the thing, you didn't choose these beliefs. They were learned. Yeah, a lot of them start way back in childhood, maybe from a critical comment from a parent or a teacher. Then they get reinforced by past failures, which our brain kind of logs as evidence to avoid getting hurt again. And on top of all that, there's societal pressure, constantly telling us who we're supposed to be, creating all these boundaries we never even think to question. I absolutely love this image because it shows the paradox of it all so perfectly. A lot of these beliefs actually started out as a way to protect us, to keep us safe from failure or disappointment. But the very thing that once protected you can end up being the exact thing that prevents your growth. Okay. We've identified the fences, we've looked at where they come from. Now for the most important part, how do we actually tear them down? This is your practical toolkit for making a real change. So here's a really simple 4-step framework you can use. First, you question it. Just ask yourself, hey, what if I'm totally wrong about this belief? Second, you analyze it. Ask, how is this belief trying to serve me? Is it protecting me from something? Third, you reframe it. Come up with a new, more empowering belief. And fourth, and this is absolutely the most critical step, you have to test it. Treat that new belief like a hypothesis and go out and find some real-world evidence that proves the old one wrong. And within that framework, here are some really practical techniques you can start using today. Cognitive restructuring, that's just a fancy way of saying you challenge those negative thoughts head on. Journaling is amazing for spotting those recurring patterns. Mindfulness helps you create a little distance so you can see that you are not your thoughts. And positive affirmations, they really do help you start planting new, better seeds in your mind. Now, I know this all sounds great in theory, but you might be thinking, can I really change these beliefs that feel so permanent? The answer is a huge, resounding yes. And this isn't just wishful thinking, it's backed by some incredible science.
The magic word here is neuroplasticity. All it means is that your brain isn't fixed. It isn't set in stone. It's more like plastic. It can be reshaped and reorganized. Every single time you learn something new, or have a new experience, or challenge an old thought, you are physically rewiring the connections inside your head. How cool is that?
But here's a fascinating twist from psychiatrist Norman Deutsch. That very same plasticity, it can also work against us. Once a negative belief gets carved into our brain and becomes a well-worn path, it can actually make it harder for other changes to happen. This is why breaking free can feel so tough at first. But, and this is probably the most empowering part of this whole conversation, that exact same power is what sets you free. The tool that built the prison is also the key that unlocks the door. So think about it. Every time you use one of those tools we just talked about, every time you question a thought, or reframe a failure, or try a new skill, you're using neuroplasticity to your advantage. You are physically and actively building new, stronger brain pathways for growth. This image just captures the whole thing so perfectly. You're not trying to erase the old patterns. You're using your brain's innate ability to create new, vibrant growth right from them. This is how you prove to yourself that you are so much more powerful than you think. So let's go back to that adult elephant tied to the post. That fence is just an illusion, right? It's just a memory of a barrier that isn't real anymore. And you know what? So are yours. The fences in your mind are just painted on. The only question left is, what's the first small step you're going to take to prove them wrong?